We are here. What's going on, everybody?
I'm checking out my lighting in here. What y'all think? I'm bright. I'm too bright.
You like
Koko, and I did what you wanted me to do. I put you back on the bottom of the screen, so now we should be good to go, right?
Let me hit the light real quick. I think that's a little bit better. Anyway, what's up, y'all? What's up?
What up?
Oh man, it's Thursday. Happy Thursday, y'all. Welcome to Root Access Live. We are your hosts, Koko, Mr. Root, and Jinx. Appreciate y'all stopping by just like you do every Thursday night. But go ahead and start hitting the like button, the share button. Invite all your friends to join us at Root Access Live right here on Facebook and YouTube. Can I see y'all coming in? Give me a hi, give me a something just before I start. All right. Thomasina Griffin, faithful, loyal.
It's my mother-in-law, faithful.
Loyal, love it. Appreciate you. How you doing this evening, ma'am? Ernestine Bonilla, welcome.
That's grandma. Waiting for all the other ladies in the family to come through.
Family gonna
all your ladies coming through.
Family gonna support you, man.
I'm glad because guess what? We are in the month of March, and you know what March is? March is Women's History Month, and Women's History Month is a celebration of women's endowment to history, culture, and society, and has been observed for the last 34 years, y'all. Women's History Month is a dedicated month to reflect on the often overlooked contributions of women to the U.S. history. From women to like Sojourner Truth to Rosa Parks, the timeline of women's history milestones unfolds back to the founding of the United States. And just like Black History Month, Women's History Month grew out of a week-long celebration of women's gifts to heritage, the yesteryears, and civilization organized in 1978. So with that being said, and this being our first show in March, in honor of Women's History Month, tonight's guest is perfect. We're going to have gospel music legend and author of Unstoppable, Dr. Teresa Hairston, y'all. So we're going to get into her book and her story. And of course, we're going to have some hot topics. We're going to talk about Jay-Z and his endeavors and projects and that he's dabbling in with marketing and sales. NBA All-Star Weekend, that's going to be a big deal. And we might touch on the White House and, you know, the vaccine supply up in there. But welcome back, y'all. And then there were three. Welcome back, Jinx. Last week you were out saving the world, right?
Super Jinx.
Right. Just trying to do my civil duties. You know, I'm an executive member of the NAACP here in Delaware for the Central Delaware branch. And so we had an event last week that I had to be at. So it was a good event. Very successful. Proud to be doing my part to try to make a change.
Excellent. We appreciate that. We appreciate you. Definitely need that for, you know, the future. We need young folk like you on boards and commissions, you know, to try to make a difference and, you know, have a voice. We use people like Jinx, you know, as our voice. We talk to him and then he speaks loud over the microphone. Correct?
That's right, for sure.
And we need some tickets for the NAACP awards.
Listen, I got
awards. We need to go one day as a unit, hit that red carpet.
Okay. Oh, that would be dope. I love it. We can host our own red carpet as they're coming in. Y'all know how we do.
That's next year. That's our project for next year.
All right. From our mouth.
I think I can make that happen.
Yeah. Between us three, we could definitely make that happen.
From our mouths to God's ears. That's what we're doing next year.
Yeah.
But anyway, y'all, it's been a while. We ain't do this one in a while, y'all. I want to take it back just a little bit. What's on y'all feet? What's up?
Root, what you got, bro? I know you got something hot tonight.
Y'all already know. I got the goats on. You know.
Oh.
Is that? You know what? I think that's why he wanted to get on screen so bad today. What you think?
What are you talking about?
That's exactly.
That's why he wanted to get on the screen so bad. He wanted to show off his new kicks.
These ain't even new.
Those not the new ones that just came out. The silver something. Oh, okay.
You saw silver? You need your glasses on?
They're not gray. They're gray. They're not silver. No. Oh, okay, they white and gray.
Like
okay.
Green. It's like a green in the back.
Oh, green?
The silver toes is actually silver on the toe, but these are not those.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
We in the
Thank you
same
very
we in the
much.
same vein today, though. I got on the all white. I got the all white ones on.
You got the all white J's, the goats. I see
Yeah,
you.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? We listen, you know, it's you gotta give honor where honor is due. He's the greatest of shoes, so we gotta make sure we keep rocking.
I'm not even. It doesn't even pay at this point.
Well, here I go. Here I go off the
Got
Steve
the
Madden.
boots. Okay.
He's the
With the
Steve
buckle.
Madden Garlands. Yep. The leather upper with the leather lining. The leather
Those are
side
like the Durangos I used
with
to
the
wear back
rubber
in the day.
outsole. Yes, sir.
You remember Durangos? Y'all remember Durangos?
I got it. I just ordered. Matter of fact, that's funny you said that. I wanted some Durango so bad. I had some back in the day, right? When I had COVID, I was in here ordering everything, and I ordered me a pair of Durangos. They dope too. They don't even come. They like little anklets. They so dope.
Man, you better tell me now what my Durangos
I can't
on.
wait to wear.
My boy Johnny Cat is on. We hung out deep when I had the Durangos. We was in all the clubs with the Durangos.
Can y'all come back to my era?
It.
Can you come back to my age group?
We don't know what that is.
Oh
Because
my
your era was
what's your era anyway. in comparison to Durango? What was y'all wearing?
I don't even know. For real, I gotta look up what Durangos are.
Oh my God! What year you was born again?
86. Oh, so the Durangos. First of all, we don't wear stuff like this. All right, so I don't know what y'all talking about.
Down in the country, y'all ain't wear them boots.
But the thing is, he from North Jersey. That's why he be killing me.
I keep thinking Delaware. You gotta forgive me. Charge it to my head and not my heart. I thought you was from the country boy.
Not Delaware ain't country either, man.
Anyway, let's wrap that up. Y'all doing the Nike thing. I'm all off the work shoe, but that's how I do over here. I'm back to work, back in the office full time, y'all. Not excited about it, not happy at all. Folks still out, but I'm grateful to be having a job. But it's a beast, y'all, getting up every day and during this time right here. I got to give myself a pat on the back because I've been doing it. Missing no days, saving all my time. Let's get into Jay-Z and all his endeavors, projects he's dabbing into, sales and marketing, helping credit. Majority of his stake, he's been in the news for the last couple of weeks now, but this week he sold a majority of his stake of Tidal to Square. Now, if anybody don't know what Square is one of those apps where you can transfer cash. It helps you how to manage your money, and all that other stuff they say. But y'all want to dab into that a little bit?
I mean, yeah, Square. People, especially most entrepreneurs, you know what Square is a mobile payment system run by Jack Dorsey, who's actually the co-founder of Twitter. He acquired a majority stake in Jay-Z's Tidal and video music streaming service, and a reported $297 million deal.
Wow.
Now, if anybody knows anything about this whole Tidal deal, people like Beyonce, Madonna, Rihanna, they were all they had stakes and they had a stake in Tidal as well, and they still remain with those stakes. But Jay-Z just sold a majority of his stake for $297 million. Now, the beauty of this whole deal is, it gives him leverage to do other stuff, right? The beauty of this deal is that he didn't sell it outright. So he still got almost $300 million and still has a piece of it. Wow. But what's crazy about his whole business acumen is over the last 2 weeks, this dude has been killing the game, because if you had to be living under a rock if you didn't hear about his Ace of Spades deal, which was he owned 100% of his champagne, Ace of Spades. He sold 50% of Ace of Spades to LVMH. And let me tell you what that is. That's Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. One company. He sold 50% stake of Ace of Spades to Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. And that was a reported $315 million deal. So in 2 weeks, your boy Hove then raked in $612 million cash. You talk about boss moves. You talk.
And the crazy part about that is, the crazy part about that is, to him, that's light work.
I mean, like it's just plain chess. It's like, yo, this is what we're gonna do, and a lot of people remember outside.
He purchased his shares that he purchased in Tidal originally was like $50 million.
$50 million.
$56 million.
Like, yeah, okay, so like 56 million. So look at that. When he first, bought it to up till now, he sold majority of his shares for close to 300 million, and he still has shares in the company. So I mean, this is what you're supposed to do. You don't invest in something not looking for a return, and that's exactly what he's got, a major return on his investment.
Man, I must say he know the game and he playing it well. He dabbing in everything. He in sports with it. He in the alcohol.
Yeah, man.
And
Rock Nation is bringing in probably the most of his portfolio because again, he represents so many of these rappers and basketball players, football players, and all these athletes. So it's just like, Rock Nation. So whenever Jay-Z does music again, it's simply just a hobby at this point. Like,
but the Rock Nation street team ain't no joke. The Rock Nation street team.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They ain't no joke.
So a lot of people say, you still got people out there saying, "Oh, him and Dame, you should have stayed with he dissed Dame." Sometimes you have to evolve. That was for a season. That was to get him to a certain point. But after a while, man, certain people you just can't take with you because had he still had that, dead weight, I hate to say it. Who knows if he would have been making moves like this?
Exactly. He's now worth his net worth is $1 billion. And no shame to Dame Dash, but I don't see him, doing much. I don't see his name in the lights, that much anymore. If it is, it's like him, coming through a reality show or, just trying to be relevant. So
I mean, he's doing stuff.
I don't think nobody would take offense to you when you said they dead weight. I think that was the perfect analogy or metaphor or whatever you want to call it.
Certain things have to happen, man. That's it. So big shout out to Ho. That's huge, man. And I know before this he was worth about $1 billion, but now it's getting closer to 2. And I think that's the whole point of all of this. Like he's just like when he said I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Like
correct. I'm a business.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a business.
Like when you wake up in the morning, your business just woke up. I'm a business. Like,
so you got to give it up, man.
Super dope. On the hip, we can stay over here. And I wonder what they're doing down at All-Star Weekend. I know All-Star Weekend is this weekend, y'all. I hope y'all, if you are going or if you know somebody going, I hope y'all stay safe. Y'all know Atlanta is one of them states that's been open, been partying, been popping, okay? But it is NBA All-Star Weekend. I wish I could go and head out and, stand on somebody's red carpet, interview a couple people and do some things. But it is what it is. I ain't trying to catch nothing.
Nah, don't do it. I literally was just doing some research on this not too long ago. And really, like, there's not going to really be many fans there, right? If the fans are there, it's going to be like you are a special guest of somebody who is either playing or of an executive of the NBA or what have you, because like COVID is still real. The players are not comfortable with fans yet. And so, and that was one of the biggest gripes the players had. Like, look, why are we doing an All-Star Weekend? Because All-Star Weekend is known not just for the game and the festivities that are a part of the game, but there are parties, gatherings, things like that. And that's really what makes All-Star Weekend. And so now, they really can't do that. But it is going to be Team LeBron versus Team KD. They are having that game on Sunday. As a matter of fact, tonight at 8:00. Team LeBron, Team KD, they're actually picking their teams tonight at 8. The 3-point contest, the 3-point contest is set. The dunk contest is set. So they're moving forward, but they got a lot of pushback from the players because it's not really what they want to do. But the players have decided to do this for the fans because they know that those of us who appreciate basketball, we look forward to All-Star Weekend. Absolutely. But notice, All-Star Weekend is normally in February.
Yep. Right.
So is the Grammys. So is the Grammys. That's happening Sunday.
There was a lot of
around Valentine's Day or something like that.
It's normally Valentine's Day weekend because I normally would be having to figure out how I'm gonna watch, All-Star Weekend and still do my thing for Valentine's Day. But you know what I'm saying? So I be trying to fit it in. You know what I'm saying?
But it's changed because you know what? A few years back, it was All-Star Weekend in Las Vegas. I was out there. It was All-Star Weekend.
True.
Magic show before that. And it was Valentine's Day. I remember that. Yeah, so I know things are gonna be different. Yeah, it's gonna be boo.
Yeah, the party. And my boy, he live out in Georgia, so it's gonna be just pandemonium out there.
Yeah, but I'm seeing a lot of advertisements. I know a lot of people, from here in Trenton, that they're going down to Atlanta. They was in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, but they are definitely, I've seen flyers for parties, people hosting and everything. So I guess
Yeah.
they're going to go on and live their best life and live their normal life. It
Yep.
is what it is. But I mean, I hope that we can change, because All-Star Weekend is a big deal. Things just ain't the same no more. And little
We just
events
need
like
COVID to be
that.
over.
Yeah, little events like, just little stuff like that. Like you look forward to. That's a real big deal. It's small, but it's little,
Yeah.
But you look
Yep.
forward to stuff like that. And I don't know if folks getting this vaccine, and I don't know how that's going. But in White House news, they're moving up the vaccine supply timeline, and they're saying that they're going to have enough for every adult by the end of May. Do y'all believe that?
Yo, I'm
Here.
actually very impressed. And see, this is what this is how an administration should move. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Get in here in January, and like we got to keep it. We can't deny the fact that it's here. Last year around this time, this is when COVID hit. This is like the
Yes.
week, and it was like, oh, it's the China virus is going to come and go. It's not real. It's fake, and all of that. And look where we are.
Yeah.
Had we had this administration last year, we would not have 500,000 dead,
Yes.
millions of cases. It would not have been. Me and my wife were talking the other day about like the swine flu and stuff. We saw this stuff on the news and stuff like this, but it came and went so fast.
Correct.
Because as an administration, they moved quickly on it. That could have been just as deadly as this. But when you have an administration that's serious about us being safe and moving the country forward, think about all the kids that still can't go to school. You know how many kids are going to fall behind? Let's talk about the inner city. You know how many kids are going to just be pushed along? I mean, we got to think about the after effects of this. It's really going to be really sad, but nobody's talking about that.
That's
so again, I'm happy about
issues. It. I have school age children, right? And so that's one of the major issues as it relates to, are the students really comprehending what they're learning, right? They're in front of this computer, they got 1,001 distractions. Mom and dad are home working, you know what I'm saying? Like they got distractions. They're in the office, their brothers are laughing and joking, their teachers on the screen trying to instruct them, and they go to school 2 days a week for hybrid, but it's just not the same. And one of the biggest questions that a lot of parents have, what is my child actually retaining, right? What are they learning? Are they really learning? Because at this point, no one is going to flunk out, right? They're not going to, no teacher is going to actually fail a student because of what's going on, because look at the environment they're learning in.
Right.
And so, this year is going to really be interesting. So, and not only just from an educational standpoint, but from a social standpoint,
Yeah.
like, what I'm saying, like sports, camaraderie, getting out the house, that whole school experience, man, this is something that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And I understand that we want to give, this administration some praise for how they're handling this, but we also need to continue to hold them to task, because there are still some things that we need done. There are still some things that we need to see, happen and push forward. One of the things specifically that we're talking about that we'll touch on briefly is the COVID relief, bill that was passed today, by a 51-50, margin. It was Vice President Harris who actually caused that bill to pass. She was the 51st vote in the affirmative for that bill. But there was some gripes, some moanings and some groanings about how they were now changing the parameters and the eligibility aspect of those who could receive the 1,400, right? And so, there are still there are a lot of moving parts. And yes, we're seeing some progress, but we can't do what we normally do. We can't see progress, immediately and then just kind of fall back and say, "Oh, they're doing it." No, we got to continue to hold them to task, because if we don't, we're going to fall back into the same cycle.
Yep.
Right.
It's so true, man.
And
it's so true.
In the beginning of this, you touched on that. Joe, President Biden has a lot of work to do. He made all these promises, and now he's becoming a meme. and folks are getting upset about the promises and the bills that he was supposed to sign and how eager he was to get into office and, making, all these false pretenses about, he's signing this bill. The first 2 days he was signing away, but, where are the results is, what the people want to see. We want to hear, we want to hear what the plans are, but we want to see the results now.
Absolutely.
Well,
it's been almost 2 months since Inauguration Day. And, are still behind and nobody's getting anything. And we're still in a depression.
Families are still having to decide whether they pay their rent or pay their mortgage or get something to eat. And thank God, the three of us are not affected to that degree. Thank God the three of us still are, are employed, and thank God we're gainfully employed. And God has seen fit to bless us in that way. But everybody doesn't have that testimony. There was a time that, back in September, my job, I lost my job due to COVID back in September. And I'll be honest with you, it was scary, not necessarily because of the immediate financial impact, because thank God we were okay in that regard. But what I'm talking about is the futuristic aspect. Like, okay, what happens if we get to a point where the reserves run out? And some people,
we're gonna put a pencil on this. We're gonna put a pencil on this because our guest is here.
Absolutely.
And this is why I got to give you reins with this again, because you usually control this part. Now it's in my ear. I'm like, what's happening? You're usually the producer.
Nope.
Oh, I can't do this. I can't multitask like you.
Introduce our guest, Ruth, because she's right here.
This is what I do. I introduce our guest. I said, what is this?
I got you.
Oh my God. I am so excited about tonight's show. She is the founder and publisher of Gospel Today magazine. Now, if you don't know about Gospel Today magazine, you do not know the Lord. You do not know gospel music and the Gospel Heritage Foundation. She's a mother of 3. She's a legend in gospel music media. She's an author. And quite frankly, there would be no Root magazine if there was no Teresa Hairston and Gospel Today. So I'm so excited to have Dr. Teresa Hairston on Root Access Live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Listen, it is my honor to be on here, and I just salute you for all that you're doing. Carrying it forward with the magazine thing, that's a lot. I know it takes a lot. I know.
And I mean, in reading your book, she has a book that will be released. When will it be released, Dr. Hairston?
It comes out on the 21st of this month.
The 21st of March. You have to get the book. It's entitled Unstoppable. And a lot of our stories are parallel. I was just shocked to see that when you first started Gospel Today, it was SCORE back then, which I remember. You started, at GMWA, just like I did. I had no idea, and you were trying to sell a magazine, and to no avail. Nobody was checking for it. Same thing with me. I went there with 1,000 magazines and sold 10. So to hear your story, it was just like, wow. And so it's just such just an honor and a pleasure to have you here to talk about this book and everything you got going on. So tell us a bit about, well, first, how are you doing in the midst of COVID? Let's start there.
Let me start by saying that I'm doing fine now. But actually, the germination of this book, the impetus for this actual book coming to fruition was COVID. I went out of the country September 2019, came back and thought I had caught the flu, and it just kept getting worse, and I kept going downhill. I went to the emergency room, and I was that sick, and got in there, and the doctor says, "Ma'am, you have double pneumonia and a virus that we cannot identify."
Wow.
And they said, "We have to admit you." I said, "For the flu?" She says, "Not the flu." And so my organs were shutting down. I was on heart monitors. Couldn't breathe, fever out of control. And at the point that, I'm literally slipping out of this world, a nurse came to me. She said, "Ma'am, I don't mean no harm, but do you have your end of life plans in place?"
Whoa.
And I was like, wow. So I called my daughter over to my bed. I could only whisper to her. I said, baby, call people who can pray.
Right.
It was at that point. And so the literal miracle is that 3 days later, the doctor's still shaking their head. The doctor would come in my room and just sit in a chair and just look at me. I mean, they didn't know what to do. And so my daughter called people. People started praying around the clock around this country. And 3 days later, the Lord healed me. And literally 3 days later, I got up. And I went home. And when I got myself together, the words of that nurse came back to me. Do you have your end of life plans in place? And you know, all of us have testimonies. All of us have stories. The Bible says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of our testimony. And many people on the other side of our testimonies, on the other side of our books, on the other side of the things we have been through will be blessed. Their lives will be changed. And so I began writing this book. And it really tells the story of my journey, of all the miraculous things that God has done, despite the times when I went and people didn't, you know, they pushed me to the side. Oh yeah, that lady with the magazine, you know, all that stuff, you know, people just, you know, treating, you know, doors slammed in my face, all that. Despite all that, you know, I kept on going, because when you have a call on your life from God, you cannot quit. So that is unstoppable. That's the story.
Wow.
So that's how COVID plays into that.
The crazy thing about that, it sounds like you were one of the first people, probably with COVID.
Yeah, I mean, before they even knew, and literally, I woke up one morning looking at the morning news, and they were talking about the symptoms of COVID, and I said, "Oh my God, that is what I had. That is the virus that I had." So yeah,
that is wow.
It's so funny that you would say that you were talking about your end of life plans, and it's something that taboo in the Black church. That conversation, right? Your end of life plan. Is there an echo over here?
Yeah, I can.
I hear the echo.
So do I. Let's see what we can do here. Hold on 1 second.
Does anyone have another device that's on streaming as well?
I took my headphones off. I don't know if it was that. I didn't know if it was that. Dr. Hairston, do you hear echo?
I don't hear it on you and Koko. I do hear it on Jinx.
Okay.
Now I don't.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
You're clear. You're clear now.
All right. So one of the things that I was talking about is the end of life thing. I personally, I run an insurance agency because of that.
It's echoing again. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's sounding really.
Let me come off and I'm gonna come back on and then see what we got. Koko or
Okay. He's gonna go off, but in the meantime, we're gonna keep it rolling. And I wanted to know, you know, your book. It's like, do you love a good story? And I wanted to ask you what inspires you to write, but you've already answered that question. So do you really love a good story? You know, when you were writing your story, how were you feeling? You know, was it inspiring? You know, was it, you know, of gratitude and satisfaction?
Well, you know, it's like when you go back and you begin to write the story of your life from childhood up to where you are, it really is like you go back and you relive some of those things, and it brings to mind other things that have happened in your life that you were like, wow, you know, I've been through a lot. And that's really the thing of when you look back and you think about all that you've been through and that you've overcome, you know that you are more than a conqueror, and that God has been so faithful that he has more for you to do.
Talk about it. Wow.
Yeah. Let's get into because your story is just so vast. I remember you working at Benson Records.
Yes.
Was that before Savoy or after?
After Savoy. I was in New York at Savoy first in the mid 80s. I know y'all are probably like, whoa. Yeah, in the mid 80s, I was at Savoy. And then I went to Benson like in 1991.
Yep. And she's actually one of the people responsible for Bishop Hez signing with Benson Records. Is that correct?
That is correct. I signed Hezekiah. He was running around New York with like 400,000 choir members. And I said, this boy need a recording contract and to be exposed nationally, because he was well known in New York, but he wasn't well known, throughout the country because,
Right.
the music was not out. So I was glad to be a part of exposing him.
Now, let's talk about working in the industry in those days, like the 80s and 90s. That was like the heyday of gospel music, especially contemporary. How was it working in the industry at that point?
Well, when I came into the industry, it really was the heyday of traditional gospel. So I worked with artists like James Cleveland, the Los Angeles LA Mass Choir, Keith Pringle, all the John P. Key was blazing, so it was the era of the choirs. You had the New Jersey Mass Choir, Florida Mass Choir, and then came Mississippi Mass Choir. So I got a chance to work with all of those folks. And then when I went to Benson, that I got a chance to work with Fred Hammond and Commission there. Mm-hmm. And that's where I signed Hez. And I worked with Kingdom. Y'all remember Ronnie's song in Kingdom? And then Vanessa Mitchell. So it was really, I worked with Thomas Whitfield. I executive produced his last project. Wow. So those were the days of really the contemporary starting to really move forward. And what happened really, and the story is that, gospel was really mom and pop. You remember we used to go to mom and pop stores to buy our gospel music. Mm-hmm. Well, I was part of that industry movement to expand gospel into the mainstream through retail. And so we started doing deals with the retail stores to get gospel on the shelves of like Tower Records and Peaches and all of those chains, the Best Buy and
Virgin Megastore.
Yeah. So that's really when the gospel sales started to really explode. And that was really in the 90s when gospel really took a leap.
Wow. Man, that was the heyday. You're right. And I remember those mom and pop, like I'm from New York, so we would always go to 125th to Rainbow. That was the shop.
Yeah.
But you're right. After that, you started seeing gospel more in the mainstream stores. That wasn't like that in the 80s, mid to late 80s. So yeah, you're right. So what made you want to start? If you worked in the industry, you were responsible for signing all of these acts. How did the concept for a magazine come into play?
So I started in gospel music. I'm one of them children that was born and raised in the church, as we say. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up singing and playing gospel music. And then I started writing songs. And I got connected with Savoy Records because I was a trained musician. And so I would transcribe the music from listening to it. I'd put it on sheet music and Savoy would sell it. And so, So I started by transcribing sheet music, and then I was a songwriter. And so I met Milton Bigham. I don't know if you know him, but he was the executive director at Savoy. At that point, when I came to work, it was based in New York on Broadway. So he called me one day, and I was teaching school in Ohio. He says, "Hey, why don't you come here and do promotions?" I said, "Okay." I didn't even know what promotions was. I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." And so I went to New York and started working there. Had, the 3 kids and all of that. And so they said, "Well, you've got to call all these radio stations around the country and these retail outlets and tell them about our new records." I said, "Really?" It was like 800 listings. And I said, "Oh my goodness." So I started doing it, and it was so overwhelming. I said, "You know what? Can I just do like a newsletter for the company?" And it was called the Savoy Record. They loved it. And in like days after sending it out, people knew what was going on in Savoy Records all around the country, all the radio announcers. So that was, like, woo. Well, they called me back in Savoy and they said, "Hey, we're going to put it in another division. It's a great idea, but we're going to take it forward." And I was like, "No." Right. So I went back to them and I said, "Well, hey, can I just do something mainstream gospel, on my own. Oh, yeah, no problem. And so I started this thing called Score newsletter. It was a 4-page newsletter. I mean, I thought they were going to help me. I put together $300 from my income tax, which was $600. And I said, oh, okay. And all I could do was $300 and 4 pages. And it started to grow from there. And literally God breathed on it and blessed it. And it started to become something in the industry, and the pages grew and it grew into a magazine. I changed the name to Gospel Today about 4 years after I started it.
Okay.
Well, that's a great segue. I know that there may be still a little bit of an echo, but we're trying to figure that out. But one of the things that you mentioned was that you had $300.
Yeah.
Now, we're dealing with women's empowerment. And I know that you're not the only one who had to restart your life.
Yes.
And keep going. Can you empower somebody in this process?
Yeah, the thing that I have come to understand is that when you have a God vision, not just a good idea, but when you have a God vision, there's something that's pushing you forward. It's like you wake up thinking about it, dreaming about it at night. And it's like you just can't get it out of your spirit. And when God is speaking to you that strongly, God never orders something he can't pay for.
Oh, that's good.
So you got to make sure that you put everything that you can into what God has called you to do, because he's going to do his part. You just got to do your part. And a lot of people, especially in this season where, we're worried about jobs and we're worried about, food shortages and, all this stuff that, it is time for us to really understand trusting God at a different level, because nothing but a God could shut down the world.
Right.
Nothing but God.
That's right. That's right.
So if he allowed it and he allowed us to survive it, we're not just supposed to survive, but we're supposed to come out of this blessed. Just like the children of Israel came out of Egypt blessed with more than they went in, we're supposed to come out with more than we went in. And if we really take this time of, the pandemic shutdown, all that, to spend time with God, we will hear him at a different level. And I believe he's speaking at a different decibel than the world can hear. That's why the world is going crazy and all, stuff is out of control. But we're supposed to be the people of God, called and anointed. And for this season, there's something for us to do to move forward. So anybody out there that really you have a dream or a vision in your spirit, now is the time to put it together and put it in place and move forward.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
In light of Throwback Thursday, what would you tell your 28-year-old self or your 20-year-old self?
Stop worrying, girl. So many times we're concerned about the wrong thing. We've spent so much time. Do they like me? Am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? I don't have this and I don't have that, and so got that and I ain't got. You know what? You are enough, and that's what we need. That's what we need to know. We are enough, just like we are. And you know what? It's people waiting to support you. Right. But sometimes we keep what we have all to ourselves because we're so scared somebody going to take advantage of us and all that. You know what? Nobody can do you like you.
That's right.
So
That's right.
Well,
you
like
might as well go on and do it.
That's right.
Now,
it is Women's History Month, and I do like that campaign. You are enough. That's something maybe I can put in the back of my brain and work on for the next Women's History Month.
All right.
Listen, that "Stop Worrying, Girl" needs to be on a t-shirt.
Stop worrying, girl.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
You want to know my t-shirt? Look. Unstoppable.
I dream, I do, I will. I like that.
Wonderful.
That's a plug.
Can they get those t-shirts?
Those t-shirts and the book are on my website at bookstoliveby.com.
Now, if y'all see Dr. Hairston's name on her screen, you can see her website right there, bookstoliveby.com.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Root is frozen. Oh no.
He is frozen.
I'm back.
Yes, we can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you.
What is happening
Oh, there
tonight?
you are.
There you go.
Now, you know, I know the magazine was Gospel Today.
Uh-oh.
You went out again.
I don't know where he's going with the question, but hopefully.
I'm usually good with stuff like that and carrying on the question,
No?
but this time he got me. Are you back, Mr.
Root, go
Root?
ahead.
Y'all hear me?
Yes.
What is happening?
Every time you say what is happening, it happens. Stop saying what is happening. Is he going to be back?
I don't know.
There we go.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. The one thing I loved about Gospel Today is that it didn't just cover gospel artists. I mean, you had people on the cover like Eddie Long, Bernice King, Steve Harvey. Where did that inspiration come from of just kind of expanding beyond gospel?
Well, you know, I when I started it, it was just, you know, gospel music. Then it went to music and ministry. Then it went to lifestyle, because what I realized as I evolved was that people love God in all different walks of life. And so I knew that if I could share stories of people that were in sports, entertainment, politics, all kind of other things, even people from, you know, around the world, if I could share those stories, then that was a great witness to the fact that God can be the center of your life no matter what you do. So I had some great opportunities and great interviews. Denzel Washington, Whitney Houston. Let's see, I interviewed Evander Holyfield when what's the name chewed his ear off. I was like,
yes.
You remember that?
I remember that. Yep.
I interviewed Deion Sanders. It was Avery Johnson, the basketball player.
Oh, yeah.
Just so many people. You know, it was so amazing. You know, their love for God, and really genuinely that they love God. You know, and sometimes the church, you know, is so in the box with stuff. You know, we think, oh, it's just got to be the preachers and the singers. No, people love God and love him, sometimes serve him better than we serve him.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Absolutely. Was this book therapeutic for you?
Oh, yeah. It has been not only therapeutic to write, but therapeutic to see your generation just enjoy it and receive it. You know, I've always been about the younger generation, you know, and, you know, being, you know, on the cutting edge, and always, you know, trying to make sure that, you know, I bring everybody along, which of course you see that in Gospel Heritage. But, you know, it was like with this book, I think, you know, the younger generation, a lot of the stuff they knew, but a lot of stuff they really didn't know. And when you really get into the stories in this book, I think there is a lot of history that's contained in this that, you know, it's a collectible. And when we pass on history in our culture, it's really valuable because our stories are still not being told like they need to be told. So I think this is important that we grab hold of this, not just because it's my book, but because it contains the history. Every Gospel Today magazine that I ever published is pictured in there.
Wow.
Everyone?
For
that
20
has to be well over almost 200.
Yeah, it's a big book.
It's a tabletop book for those of you who don't know. And I love a good tabletop book. Like I'm ordering it as soon as this interview is over. I'm going to pre-order myself.
Okay.
Hopefully I get that shirt, give it to my wife. But it's really cool.
It's a girl thing.
That's a girl thing. That's a girl thing.
You can see, I was looking at the background picture. You can tell how large the book is. That's the book in the background, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah.
And this is not your first book. Your other book was
No, I've written 8 books.
Jeez.
This is my 8th book.
Not her first rodeo, okay?
My God. I remember what was the other book? I think I have it. Created.
I've written a book called Stop Waiting.
How to Pursue Your Purpose.
How to Pursue. That was my first book. Yes.
Yeah, I got that one.
Okay. Wow. So you got to catch up.
Jesus, I didn't know you wrote 8 books.
Yeah. And I'm still going. I'm still going.
So
yeah.
This is an awesome question I like to ask authors. When you talk about 8 books,
Yes.
I don't know if you can put into words which one is your favorite.
This one is my favorite.
Okay, which is where I was going to go with it.
Yes.
But I think I haven't.
This is the only book that I've written, the only book that really tells my entire story. And I don't have another story. So
right.
This has got to be it. And so, the other books I have 2 books about worship. I have 2 books about purpose. I have a book about wisdom and 2 books about writing, So, but this one it's the story of everything that I've done and just the whole evolution.
And I can imagine that writing this book was extremely emotional.
It was
going through your entire journey. The ebbs and flows of your journey, the ebbs and flows of life.
Yeah.
Is there a specific chapter that you'll say, listen, if you don't read anything else in this book, get to this chapter?
Oh my goodness. I think there are a couple of them. One, I think, Ruth, you'll appreciate when I went to GMWA one year. I go there and I've got James Cleveland on the cover of the magazine. He's on his way to the hotel. I'm working for Savoy at this point. He's coming in and Reverend Cleveland was the one that endorsed me doing the magazine in the beginning. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be a big seller. I'm going to get all these subscriptions. I'm going to sell all these magazines.
Oh my gosh.
Reverend Cleveland, I don't know if you remember this, but he got sick when we were going to Washington, D.C. for the convention. He got sick on the plane. And when he got to the hotel, I'm standing in the lobby and I got the magazine. Here come Reverend Cleveland. He going to see this magazine. I'm going to put it in his hand. He going to be pushing it all through the convention. They carried him out of the car and said, get out the lobby. And they carried him up to his room. He never came out of the room. They had to put him back on the plane, send him back to Los Angeles. He passed a couple months later. I was like, oh God.
Oh my gosh.
I had printed like 7,000 some magazines.
Wow.
I think I carried home about 6,950. I was like, oh, I wanted to quit.
I know the feeling.
I was like, oh, I don't know. I ain't gonna make it. So that's one story that I share. And then a funny story that I share is I was hosting at the White House, right? So I'm hosting this event. And at this point, this is my second time hosting. So this is during the Bush administration. And they're like, they're very protocol, of course, at the White House. So I'm hosting this event. I get done and I have a guest. I have a +1. Well, they're saying, President Bush is going to have a luncheon afterward. Well, I thought it was going to be like a reception, milling around, hey, President Bush or whatever. So I'm like standing there looking for my +1, and he's like nowhere to be found. And I'm like walking in the corridors, where all the rioters were. I'm walking around, and so they always have a person with you, so you can't just mill around the White House.
Right.
So
right.
I'm like looking for this dude. I'm like, where is he? So I pick up my cell phone. I'm like, where are you? He said, I'm trying to get back in. The guards won't let me in. I'm at the gate. And
the White House doc.
And I said, oh no, well tell him you're on the, and I'm explaining all this. And the president's aide comes up to me. He says, madam, the president is waiting. And I said, okay. You know what? Tell him so. He said, madam, the president. I said, oh, and I handed my phone to the aide, whoever was with me. And I walked right in. I said, and so when I got in the luncheon, I'm sitting at the table with the president, right?
Whoa.
And so when I get there and I'm like, the aide is like pushing me in there, like I sit down and the president nods his head and they start the event. I was like, oh,
What?
Wow.
They were waiting for you.
Wow. Now, did your plus
I
one
said,
ever make
oh,
it in?
that's a mess.
Right. Did the plus one make it in?
He made it in later on, about like 10 minutes. They found his way in. But I tell you, I was like mortified, like, oh God.
That's an amazing story.
I can't even imagine, right? That's a story to tell right there.
I mean, just think about that. From $300 to the White House.
Listen, y'all
man.
don't understand because y'all city people. I lived in the country when I grew up. We used the outhouse, baby. So when I tell you I went from the outhouse to the White House,
the White House,
with you.
That's real.
It's serious. It's for real. So yeah, this is and it's just an amazing thing. So all of those stories are in this book, and I just think that it's something that I hope this next generation, your generation, and those that come after you will be able to see that really on top of everything, regardless of me, this is the story of what God can do when you say yes.
Absolutely.
You might not have what you think you ought to have or what other people think you ought to have. I mean, people used to look at me and say, who is she? And I was like, well, I'm just doing what I'm doing, y'all.
Yeah.
So, it's just that kind of thing. And so, I just celebrate people, and I've learned to really celebrate people where they are and to look in them and see what God can do through them and help them. And that's what I think this whole Women's History Month is. I do a show on Impact Network every week, and I was doing the show and lining it up today, and I was doing some research, and still Black women are still only making 64 cents for every dollar that a man makes.
Yeah.
And Black women are still underrepresented in so many fields. And, real brothers these days need to understand we got to open the door for Black women.
Absolutely.
Brothers have to do that. And so I really appreciate you guys for having me on, for lifting this up, because this is what it takes. It takes our community. Community means common unity. We got some stuff in common, and we got to be unified to make it happen. So all of us are in this thing, and there's no point fighting and who the best and who got this. We just, we fighting over crumbs.
Yeah.
And we got to learn to lift each other up so we can all have a slice of the pie. So the pie is bigger, each slice is bigger.
That's right. They're asking in the comment section what your favorite Gospel Today cover is. I know that got to be hard.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you one of the favorite.
I got one right here. This is one of my favorites.
Wow, that is one of my favorite people.
One
of my favorite covers, of course, is Bishop T.D. Jakes.
I remember that.
Bishop was so amazingly supportive. I did the cover with him on it, of course, for MegaFest when they were here at the Atlanta Dome. And my son called me on the phone because, all my children have to work.
That's right. Roland helped me out a lot when I first started.
Right. And they understand because they came up as little children, and I'd be like, glue that together, do this, staple that, whatever. But he called me, and we were at the Georgia Dome. He said, "Mom, hurry up and come into the service. Bishop Jakes is doing a subscription drive."
Woo!
Bishop Jakes got up in the Georgia Dome in front of all them thousands of people and said, "I want y'all to subscribe to Gospel Today," and had the ushers pass out subscription cards.
My Lord.
Wow.
This is the kind of community that we're a part of. So see, I can't get in them conversations where people say we don't support each other and all that stuff. We do. It's just certain people that make a bad name for the rest of us. But we got love for each other. And when we get in, and in business, we will support each other. We just got to start ringing the bell and beating the drum. And there are people that are lined up to help us, and we'll do it. So that's it. That's
and we got to be in position. We got to be in position. Yeah, because you were in position for that blessing to get tens of thousands of people to subscribe to Gospel Today. Yeah, that's amazing.
And it all started by not being afraid to step out. if I had been afraid of what people said, because people, even in the gospel community, when I started with $300 in a 4-page newsletter, people laughed at me and they said, what is, that ain't nothing. And, they kind of like, pushed me aside and ignored me. I would go places and I'd be like, when my time coming up for my subscription talk, and, I'm going to get up, and people would ignore me. They forget to put me on the program, all that. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm coming back. In fact, I was in the lobby, out the trunk of the car. I got to do it. And that's that get up and go, and that fight that I think we have to have. We can't let down and let go, because it's not about us. It's about what God can do through us.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you this question. You mentioned, and I want to digress a little bit, because you were talking about how Black women, are making 64 cents to the dollar. That's completely ridiculous. But on the flip side, what does it mean to you to have Kamala Harris in the White House?
Wow, that's a big achievement. It is a major achievement. I am so happy, that she made it through, and that we helped to push her through to that point. It means everything. It means everything to my grandchildren, and even to the children's children, that they will have, because this sets a new precedent, and it raises the bar for all of us. And now, as intelligent and beautiful as she is, she doesn't, she don't have to prove it. She's there. Right. And that's something that, it helps to break through that glass ceiling for so many other Black women. So I think that is just setting a precedent and raising the bar on all. So that's what it means to me. Thank you for asking that.
Yes, ma'am.
This is great. I really appreciate this, Dr. Hairston. This is amazing. The book is entitled Unstoppable. You can get it at bookstoliveby.com. You see it right there on the screen. Make sure you pre-order it right now. And it comes out, you said March 21st, correct?
That's correct. They can get the ebook, or there's a flip book for online. There's an ebook that's available now. And then the print book, the coffee table book, will be out the 21st.
I want that. Y'all can get the ebook and all that if y'all want. I want that.
And the t-shirt is online too.
And the t-shirt. Support this Black queen. She's a legend in gospel. She's still doing it, although, she kind of made way for a little Black boy like me to do magazines. I don't know if you remember this. When I first started, I did a prototype. And that was like my first time at the Stellar Awards, and I saw you in the airport of Nashville, and I ran up to you and I gave you my prototype. I was like, "Hey, I'm Hassan, and I'm coming out with a magazine too. Can you just look at this?" And you were so gracious. You probably don't remember. You're like, "Oh, this crazy dude," but you were so gracious, and I would never forget that. So thank you for always being gracious every time I'm in your company.
I'm always in your corner, and you can call me anytime, and I mean that.
I thank you for that.
Awesome.
I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Dr. Right. Teresa Hairston, everybody. Thank you so much. This was great.
Wait, before you go, I know that being told you're appreciated is one of the simplest and most uplifting things you can hear. But I know on behalf of Root Access Live and all the women here, happy Women's History Month. And we want to give you your flowers while we can. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Absolutely. And you are so beautiful. Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
All right. You guys take care.
Bye, Dr. Hairston.
You do the same.
Make sure y'all get the book Unstoppable.
Yes.
Man. We have so many similar stories, man, in starting out in publishing. Like she didn't go to school for journalism or anything like that. She stumbled upon it like me, like, hey, I think I'll do a magazine. You heard the story with Savoy Records and all that. So, I mean, just like when we were talking about Jay-Z earlier, it starts with a dream, a thought like, hey, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? And, sometimes it's not going to work out in the beginning because she could have just quit too. When you printing up thousands of magazines and 20 people buy it, but you got to keep going. I was there too. Same thing, GMWA. But what happened for me is I sold about 10 magazines and I had Kirk Franklin on the cover. So I was just like, I know we're about to sell out. And I sold about 10 and I was getting discouraged. Like, I got to carry all these magazines back home. But that same day, the chairman of the GMWA my boy James Robinson, he brought me into the chairman, Albert Jameson, and he was like, hey, let's hook him up. Let's let him do our journal for next year. And, you know, he said that, but, you know, sometimes you hear that type of talk. You're like, this ain't gonna happen. But next year came, and we were the official magazine for GMWA conference. Thousands of those printed up. You know, I saw people walking around the conference with it, looking, because I was like, it's not gonna just be a journal, it's gonna be like a magazine. So we had stories in there, and, you know, like the rest is history. So it's just like sticking to what God told you to do. So just hearing her story, I'm encouraged. I'm gonna order the book, and you guys should as well.
Absolutely,
man.
Definitely had a good time with you all today. Appreciate our guest, Dr. Hairston, for coming through. It's been another good show. Noble dialogue, decent vibes, excessive energy as usual. Thank you all for tuning in. See y'all next week at 7 p.m. Same time, same place.
CC Wine is next week. CC Wine is next week.
Okay, that's it.
CC.
I'm loving that.